60 Minutes Rewind.
If Peru had an official storyteller, it would be Mario Vargas Llosa. 15 books, several plays, and almost every international literary award short of the Nobel Prize. In fact, his latest novel is called The Storyteller. Why are we telling you this? Because Vargas Llosa, playwright and novelist, a man with no political experience, has decided he's the man Peru needs as its next president, which leaves several questions. Is a country with severe economic problems, whose single largest export is cocaine, ready for a man of letters at the helm? Is Peru, whose socialist policies he has challenged, ready for a Margaret Thatcher-type capitalist as its president? The smart money says yes, it probably is.
Well, if the situation wasn't so difficult, I wouldn't be a candidate, because my vocation is literature, not politics. But these are hard times for Peru, and hard times need, I think, the participation of everybody. I am an emergency candidate.
And the politically inexperienced novelist, the emergency candidate, is now the leading candidate. After more than 2 decades of failure by experienced civilian and military leaders, many Peruvians actually want Vargas Llosa because he has no political experience.
My feeling is that he's about the only guy in this country that wants the job.
Mirko Lauer is a left-wing publisher and political commentator who doubts that a political novice can handle a country whose problems only begin with acute poverty.
We have the largest left wing in all of Latin America. We have the largest guerrilla movement, the largest terrorist actions. By far, I would say, in agricultural terms, the largest drug traffic operation. I would say, and this doesn't make me happy, I would say Peru is about trouble. And trouble not only for Peruvians, trouble for all of Latin America, if we do not manage ourselves to solve our problems.
In many ways, we share with a country like United States the 20th century and even the 21st century. On the other hand, Peru is also the Stone Age. If you belong to one of the small communities in the Amazon region, you are really very, very isolated, and it's quite possible that you haven't even heard the name of Peru.
And in the Andes, slashing the country down the center, most of the people even speak a different language. More than 1/3 of all Peruvians speak the ancient Indian language called Quechua. All these divisions make the country's problems difficult to solve. The poverty in the mountains and in the shanty towns around Lima is acute.
When I speak to people like this one, in their eyes, a deep skepticism, because they know that politicians don't usually say the truth, that politicians use words not to express real convictions, but just to seduce. But it's something that we must fight very hard to get, the trust, the confidence. No?
To cure poverty, Vargas Llosa says he plans to create wealth. The economy is close to collapse. Inflation for the last 12 months was around 6,000%. And because confidence in the economy is gone, some economists say there is more money in the hands of black market money changers than in the entire national reserves of Peru. Vargas Llosa blames the crisis on the enormous government bureaucracy caused by a succession of governments, both civilian and military, nationalizing hundreds of private businesses. Once a communist and a strong supporter of Cuba's Fidel Castro, Vargas Llosa now thinks economic policies like those of England's Margaret Thatcher and Reaganomics are the answer to Peru's economic crisis.
How do you get from the Communist Party to a supporter, a man who wants to bring Margaret Thatcher economics to Peru?
I think in this I am an expression of my time. The socialist utopia, is dying in our days. And it has died not only as an objective historical fact. It has died in many individuals, like myself, who in a given moment thought strongly that that was the only way to fight social injustice and to improve social life, and then discovered that they were wrong. You know?
Vargas Llosa may have turned away from socialism and communism, but many in Peru have not. Terrorism is commonplace. If this anti-communist novelist becomes president, he'll face two of the most ferocious communist guerrilla movements in the world, the Marxist MRTA and the Shining Path. In the last 10 years, due to terrorist acts by both groups and government reaction, more than 15,000 people have died, including scores of elected officials and candidates.
Now, Peruvian people is afraid. They are afraid. They know that life has become very cheap in the country, that violence is waiting.
Waiting and growing stronger. The communist guerrillas have vowed to disrupt the upcoming elections. Their terrorist campaign is now reported to be financed in part by the drug trade. Although processed in Colombia, more than 60% of the cocaine on our streets today was grown in Peru. In exchange for growing coca leaf in guerrilla territory, the drug lords provide guns and money, the tools of terror.
And in a way, you know, this is good. This is good because now we are obliged to fight simultaneously against two very serious menaces for democracy and for real progress in the country.
Before leading this fight, Vargas Llosa must win the election. Though he's far ahead in the polls, the election isn't until March.
Has your writing become an issue in this campaign? Do people...
Well, my adversaries are trying to use, of course, everything, as is normal, against myself. And for instance, they are trying to use some novels of mine to prove that I am against the military and trying to... But I don't think this is going to work.
His adversaries have plenty of material with which to work. His relationship with the military is strained, and it all started here in the same place where his career as a writer began, the military boarding school his father forced him to attend when he was 13.
My father was a bit afraid of my literary inclinations. At that time, to write poems, you know, for some people was a symptom of a dubious virility, a dubious manhood.
So he thought by sending you to military school, they'd toughen you up, make a man out of you?
Exactly. He thought that a military training would eradicate the literary inclinations and would make of myself a real man. Well, in this sense, he was wrong. A very bad experience can be a great literary incentive.
In fact, Vargas Llosa wrote his acclaimed first novel, The Time of the Hero, about his 2 desolate years in the school. It tells a brutal tale of theft and deception, rape and murder, ignored or even condoned by an amoral faculty. When it was published, cadets burned hundreds of copies of the book in an official ceremony on the grounds of the school, apparently under orders from the faculty.
You're very autobiographical in a lot of your writing.
Yes, I am. Well, I think all writers are autobiographical.
Most writers, though, at least change the names. You don't even change the names in some of your books.
Well, that I have used as an strategic device in some books.
Using that strategic device, Vargas Llosa told a fictionalized version of his first marriage to his Aunt Julia. In the book, an 18-year-old character named Mario marries his 30-year-old aunt named Julia. The New York Times called Aunt Julia and the Scriptwriter one of the best books of 1982.
She was a relative?
Not a direct relative. She was a relative of the wife of one of my uncles.
A popular Colombian soap opera was based on the book. Vargas Llosa's marriage to his older Aunt Julia ended when his younger first cousin Patricia came for an extended visit. Although Patricia's father and Mario's mother are brother and sister, though Patricia was just 15 years old and Mario was 25, And though they'd lived together in the same house as children for several years, they now fell in love.
How did that happen?
Well, you must let me some material for my next novel, you know. I have always a great inclination for the family, you know. That's in our tradition, in this Hispanic, Hispanic influence tradition, you know.
You marry in the family.
Yes. Well, you know, the Incas married always their sisters, you know. We are more flexible. We married our cousins.
The story will continue after this.
That marriage to cousin Patricia has lasted 25 years and produced 3 children, Gonzalo, Morgana, and Alvaro.
Did he just wake up one day and say, I'm going to run for president?
People tried to push him, you know, to run for president.
Did you push him?
Not at all. I reacted, you know, strongly against. I know what his vocation means for him, you know, and I knew that this was going to be a terrible sacrifice, you know, not to write for 7 years.
And Patricia told Mario she was also concerned for his safety.
Well, to be Peruvian president is the most dangerous job in the world, you know, and in many sense. So everybody in my family and among my friends was quite worried with this.
If he changed his mind and said, no, I don't think I'll do this, that you wouldn't be totally unhappy.
No, I must confess that I wouldn't be unhappy, no.
Let me ask you, and give me an honest answer here. Do you ever wake up or look at yourself in the mirror and say, why did I start all of this? That maybe I bit off more than I can chew?
Well, maybe sometimes, but I fight very hard against this kind of Hamlet attitudes. I don't think they are useful if you are involved in politics. You must be really convinced of what you are doing or you won't succeed.
I think that this is finally the bottom line, that he seems politically to have been a person that has always needed not only a conviction, not only a cause, but an outright crusade.
Is he like a Don Quixote?
When I used the word crusade before, I did it in the very exact term. I think he doesn't mind taking on a large enemy, as we could describe the Peruvian crisis. I think the larger the enemy, the better for him.
Others have said that this is also good material for a new novel.
Well, I always say that if I survive to this experience, I'll probably write an interesting book, you know?